Terry Galloway, and the first thing you should probably know is that I'm deaf. I'm a little d deaf, and I'm a lip reader, and you might detect something odd about my speech. Most people think it's French, but it's just a lateral lisp, and for all practical purposes, I've always been happy to think of myself as a kind of a gainfully unemployed bum. But for the purpose of this blog, I wrote a memoir, and it's called Mean Little Deaf Queer. For years, I was told that I didn't qualify, and I guess I just got deafer as the years went on. It's a progressive deafness, although there was a point in my life where it seemed to hit pretty much rock bottom. But also, I was just loath to do it. I was first diagnosed, and I was about 10 years old. One of the things that happen is that you become prisoner to the cure, right? Because I was given crippled glasses, and I had this huge big hearing aid. It was a box hearing aid. It fit between my little boobs like a third one, and it was just, I felt so encumbered by it. Because before I'd been this little girl, I was a tomboy, and I would run and I would throw myself in the mud, and I'd tackle the boys, and I just loved my body, and I loved life, and then I got the cure, and I couldn't do that anymore. I was reluctant because I associate it buttons to your head. It attaches by a magnet, and so I had a flashback in my soul to being once again encumbered. And what did it was a couple of things. I resisted for years getting digital hearing aids because I thought, oh, nothing's going to help me, And then I got them, and it was like bling. I could make that sound, It's just like It was so amazing. I mean, the world was really full of noises, and I was so amazed that why had it been like that? Why was I resistant? Because I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that technology could give me anything more than I had. So then I got to thinking, well, maybe this new, maybe what they're telling me is true. I'm very suspicious, doctors and surgeons, in part because of the way that my own deafness came about. My mother was given an antibiotic, a mycin antibiotic, when she was pregnant with me, and that's one of the reasons that I am what I am. That I have the deafness that I have the hallucinations, that I have the blood disorders, the whole thing, the whole spectrum of this thing. So I've been suspicious. Also, I have good friends, because they would push, and they wouldn't let me relax in that regard. And my sweetie Donna, she's like that. It's just, she won't nag, but push. You've got to think about this. In part because there was this woman, she's a vocational rehabilitation director, and the reason, if I'm ever going to get this, I can't afford it. It's $75,000 and more, and sometimes it might be up to $150,000 a year to get this operation. So who can afford it? There was a vocational rehabilitation counselor. Her name was Robin, and she has a deafness very much like mine. Right? We were very much on the same spectrum, same kind of language skills, and she got one. And you could see it. It was in her eyes that she was learning. And that's the thing. I want to learn. I want to learn all of my life, and there it was. And so I went in there going like this with Donna. And after the meeting, Donna said again, you have to consider this. They put you in a booth, and I've done this since I was a kid, right? So I know how it works. They put you in a booth, and you take off your hearing aids, and they go beep, beep, or they make noises, right? And when you hear them, you're supposed to raise your hand. Well, that's not going to happen, right? Yeah, I know it's happening. You put your hearing aids on, and you raise your hand. So every once in a while, I'd hear it. But then there came this thing that I thought I was going to ace. And it's a CD, and it's a male voice, because it's a deeper register. And it repeats like 40 sentences, common everyday sentences. and you're supposed to repeat after what you hear. And I was feeling so clever. I felt like Daffy Duck. It's clever. Because I knew I've made my way through my deafness, you know? And so I made my way so that I think I'm perceiving the intonation, a wave, an impression that I am able to put together to make sentences. So I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do so. They're going to be so impressed. And out of 40 sentences, I understood one word. The. I think, oh, I really am still deaf. And I get out of there, and I'm sitting across from the audiologist about as far as we are. She repeats the 40 sentences. I get every single one but one. And that's because she said it's common sentences. So I heard this one and I said, Israeli. And then I went, oh, no, common. It's raining. But then that's when I became very impressed with my own lip reading skills. But that decided it. Throughout my life, I have forced myself to become optimistic. So I'm looking at this in a determinedly optimistic manner. Because I've heard the horror tales about when it doesn't work. It not only doesn't work, but they slice the nerve. So whatever residual hearing you have, that's gone. And I have residual hearing. These digitals are marvelous to me. They're like miraculous. So if this doesn't work, it's over for that ear. And that scares me, because I want every little bit of sound I can get. I believe in the existence of birds because I see them. I do not believe that they make little chirpy sounds because I have never heard it. And I want to see if that's true. That the birds make a chirping sound that they sing. You know, these are rumors, ugly rumors. No. I do have I loved sound when I was a kid, and I would like that back, and I would like. I see people love music, and it's like being temple granted, you know. Like what she said, it was like people were aliens, the way this invisible thing passed between them. And music is like that for me. I perceive with these, I perceive something, but you could tell me, oh, that's Patsy Cline, and it could be, you know, Beverly Sills, and I wouldn't know the difference. I just know that it exists out there. So I want that. And I want language. I took French in high school, but I did perfectly accented gibberish. I could hear floating, but it didn't make any sense to me. And a lot of people, that's probably how language hits them anyway, but I want language, I want to learn Portuguese. That everybody says it's beautiful. So I want that. I want to hear bugs. I really want to hear them. I want to hear bugs. I want to hear whatever the thing they do, I want to hear them. I don't want to be so afraid of things anymore. So many times when I would fly, and they do little PA announcements, and if I ever perceive him, it's like, don't, instead of, we're flying over the Great Lakes, or, you know, or something like that. I want to relax in that regard. I will never be who I might have been, but I'm really curious about who I might become with this miracle. It's a miracle.